All right, welcome to the Any Given Parlay podcast.
Heartbreaking, but also fun to see.
A lot to talk about tonight.
The writing was on the wall.
The bookmakers give up 15.5.
History has been made in the NFL. Adjusted, take the adjusted. I like Mike's line there.
I somewhat agree with you, and here's where it stands.
That is a lock.
Any Given Parlay. Welcome to another episode of Any Given Parlay. We're a little lighter this week. There's only two of us. This week, it's me and Zach. Zach, who's missing?
Oh, hey, David. I miss you. All right. How was your guys' weekend?
I know. He gave you a little bit of grief for not being here last week. And now he's not here.
Yeah. Last minute drop. I planned well in advance.
Well, here's the good news. We're not going to hear that much about JMU,
The Packers,
ODU, the Packers, soccer,
Man U.
Exact Blue Bloods. You know what? I think maybe it is the Duke loss that has him not showing face this week. But we do have an awesome show for you. We're going to talk about our weekend winners and losers, specifically the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. We're going to get into some facts about the Final Four. Then we're going to talk about the women's NCAA tournament and all the hype on that. I want to get Zach's opinion. Then we got some rapid fire headlines. We had a little bit of movement in the NFL today. We have a lot going on with the James family, so I'll talk about them. And then we're going to kick into some baseball picks for the weekend, some series to look out for. And then obviously we have to give our Final Four predictions. Zach, talking about this weekend, talking about weekend winners and losers, Sweet 16, what stuck out to you for the Sweet 16?
So the Sweet 16 seems like so long ago, but
I know.
Man, there were some big surprises for me. Some that didn't surprise me. I wasn't surprised that Duke took down Houston. As I've been saying, Houston is a soft number one. I've been saying it all along. I wasn't surprised that Purdue crushed Gonzaga. Edey is just killing it right now. He's a monster on the floor and in the hotel room.
That was such a strange video to come out. He's a college guy. What do you expect him to do?
Who cares?
Yeah. She walked in there, but it's
the chick was all right. He had to duck to get into the hotel room. Who cares?
He looked like he was
in college. Leave him alone.
He looked like he was in a clubhouse.
I know.
He was just way too large.
Like the little kids house out and back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So some of the knocks I saw on that were why does he still have clothes too big for him? Was one of the things.
So true. Oh, but yeah. Seriously though, he's a monster. He's been, he has some games where he hasn't really showed up this season, but he's been amazing these last few games.
Listen, I picked Purdue to go all the way in a futures bet. I got a little mix of UConn, Purdue in the finals, but like you said, it just seems like the for sure bet has been Purdue cover and UConn cover. And I can't imagine not being able to place a wager over that weekend. Zach, how did that feel where you could not place a single wager? Was that torture?
Oh, I wanted to hit the over. I wanted to hit UConn with points both games. They won both games by 25 plus.
You just feel like you've just lost money even though you didn't, right?
Yeah, so they crushed San Diego State by 32 points or by 30 points. And then we'll talk about the Elite Eight late in a second, but they did well there too. In the rest of the Sweet 16, 2-3 games they're a toss-up. I can't believe that UNC did not beat Alabama. That was surprising to me.
Oh yeah.
And Clemson, what is Clemson doing? Clemson beating Arizona. They were sputtering to end the season. They had an awful end of the season, and they beat Arizona. I mean, it's not the elite Arizona teams of past, but still, that was surprising.
It definitely felt like Clemson was punching above their weight class going in there, but they were a Cinderella to that point. So transitioning into the Elite Eight.
Well, hold on, we left one team out.
Oh, yes, we did.
We left out the big boy in NC State.
Oh, yeah. Your boy,
So
DJ.
I want to say that this surprises me, but it doesn't. The NC State, like the run that they went on to win the ACC tournament, beating Duke, beating North Carolina, they just stayed hot. They deserve to be better. I know they had a terrible season record, but they were a dangerous 11 seed with the hot streak they were on. So it doesn't surprise me. They like the 3-point shooting they have in the inside game with the big boy.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like a bad team. This shouldn't be that much of a surprise to your point.
They're not a bad team. They just had an awful regular season.
Oh yeah. I mean, but isn't it what the tournament is? It's about how you end that season. So DJ Burns Jr. is the center for NC State. If you don't know that name, if you Google him, you will immediately know who he is. He has become I would say the head of the Cinderella team, right? Like everyone knows who that person is. He's a big story. He has been getting interest from NFL teams because of his size. And he quote says, "I'm not closed-minded about it," which I think is amazing. But you're hearing a lot of heroes come out of this. Who are some other
DJ
notable
Horn
names?
too? Don't leave out DJ Horn. He's an amazing shooter.
Oh yeah,
the Wolfpack. Anyway,
so going into the Elite Eight, all right.
Yes.
Going into that Elite Eight, what games kind of stuck out to you? There was some interesting matchups in that one. Also, you had Bama versus Clemson. And listen, if you put that on a Saturday night and it's in the fall, I mean,
yeah,
you're getting tens of millions of people to watch that one. But this
Not
one
this
is still
year.
contested. Not this year.
Previous year.
Yeah. Number 6
Alabama-
versus number 4. Bama
Alabama
came
would have
through.
still put up 89 against Clemson in football this year.
Oh, that would have been amazing. So you had that matchup there. You know, Purdue, Tennessee. Thoughts around that one? 66-72. Purdue rolled on them.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't that went as people thought. Edie played well. He put up a ton of points.
They struggled in that game too. That was a game where they had to come back, and Edie kept going to that rollout like hook, and it wasn't hitting for a while. And then all of a sudden, he just kept going and started persisting.
So those two games were not a surprise to me. Those are two games happened as people thought they were. Now, the UConn game, why that didn't happen as people thought it would, is UConn went on a 30-0 run in that game.
Zach, to your point, I think it was 60 real minutes of time, and they hadn't scored for 60 minutes of actual time, not game time.
30-0 run in the Elite Eight is crazy against a pretty good Illinois team, one of the better teams in the Big Ten. UConn is just on a different level than everybody else right now.
Yeah, it's gotta be depressing to get your whole season to that point and then just completely get demolished in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
All right, but what's the big one? The big one, we got what?
NC State and Duke.
NC State and Duke.
So I was actually on a flight. I watched the entire first half of the game, and then the first part of the second half I missed. But NC State was losing at halftime, and they had only in the game when they were in the 20s in points. So I caught like the midway through the second half. Suddenly they were up by like 5 points. I was like, whoa, what happened? It flipped and the NC State Magic came back.
It's my dream to have a game like that in a flight. How enjoyable was your flight being able to watch that game? I mean, it's got to be awesome, right?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I watched most of the first half, which was absolute terrible game. The second half was amazing, which I only got half of, but the first half was pretty awful in that game.
What airline did you fly?
Southwest, so I had to
Big up Southwest.
rush for my seats.
Oh yeah,
It's awful.
That's the only bad part, but they give you that in-flight. That in-flight app's got the games on there.
Yeah.
So we have an awesome awesome. I think Final Four coming up right now, right? We have 4 really interesting teams. There's a lot of firsts that might happen. I think the most notable one is, UConn would be the first back-to-back team, I think in a couple decades. No. Yeah, like a 16 years or so. But they would also be the 8th program to repeat as national champions in the 2nd in 3 decades, which is kind of insane. What kind of hype are you feeling about this Final Four?
Oh, it's huge because teams can repeat and teams play well, but UConn is just dominating in this tournament. And
What's interesting is, yeah, go ahead.
People hesitate to call UConn a blue blood. When you look at championships, the teams that you call blue blood, you have UCLA, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Indiana, and Kansas. UCLA, where have you been lately? You have the most national championships, though, so you're still up there. But UConn already has more championships than Kansas. Indiana hasn't won one in a long time. If UConn wins this one, they're tied at number 3 with North Carolina. So, I guess the people holding on to the past would still have the right to say UConn really hasn't been around since the mid-90s, but
I just think the women's program has overshadowed them for a little bit. But Coach Hurley, this is an incredible story. Like, I'm rooting for him. You don't have that normal stench of like blue blood, Like, if you saw Duke in there, like it's an easy villain, right? But this UConn team is likable, which is nice. But I'm excited for that matchup. I think if we get Purdue UConn, we'll all be really, really happy, and we'll see what happens. We're gonna go over those picks soon.
That game will have a lot of viewers. That'll have a lot of viewers.
Interesting segue there, Zach. It has had a lot of viewers.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll have as many viewers as LSU Iowa.
LSU Iowa. We're talking about the women's NCAA tournament. Yes, it does go on at the same time. CBS almost duped me into filling out a bracket. I was like, what? South Carolina's a 1 seed. And I was like, this is not the right bracket. Literally, I had to jump out. But yeah, they're getting a lot of attention right now. Talk to me about this tournament. Why is there so much attention on this tournament right now?
Well, Any Given Parlay fans, you will know that Mike should fill out a bracket for the women's tournament because he would do amazing. I think in the first round, I think there was one upset in the entire first round.
Oh yeah, lots of favorites.
Yeah, so
interesting.
Mike would do amazing in the women's tournament bracket.
You're referring to my strategy of taking the highest seed at all times always, which, come on. You can't be that mad at it. But yes, I will tell you, Zach, so I did bet on one of these March Madness games. It was West Virginia versus Iowa. It was Caitlin Clark's last home game, and the spread was 13 points, and they went back and forth. And I thought it was a sloppy game. I'm not going to lie to you. They ended up pulling out and winning, I think, by 10 or 11. So I was a little bitter for my first taste of action on women's basketball. But Caitlin Clark's the big story of women's basketball. And, her and Angel Reese obviously had a lot of going back and forth. Can you give us a little bit of a history on that?
Yeah. So last year, the teams met. And that last year, LSU came out victorious in the tournament. Angel Reese kind of rubbed it in Caitlin Clark's face. Both of them are trash talkers, so it's neither here nor there. But it was a huge rivalry. They're probably with Paige Buckers from UConn, probably the 3 best women's basketball college players right now. They're going to be all stars in the WNBA. But for this to be a rematch of that game is huge. And that's part of the reason why it garnered 12.3 million viewers, which is crazy for any basketball game.
Where's that put that with other games and other events?
So that's more than any other women's basketball game ever. That's more than any college basketball game ever on ESPN platforms, which is, that's a weird stat, but still kind of important.
Mhm.
It's more than every MLB game last season, every NHL, every MLS game last season, every NBA game last season except for one, and every college football regular season game last season except for one.
This is like approaching NFL game viewer status then, right?
Yeah. And the other interesting thing about that and Caitlin Clark is she was actually offered a contract for the Big Three, which is Ice Cube's 3-on-3 basketball league of old retired players that used to be really good. And apparently her contract in the WNBA next year would be, I believe, $76,000. And Ice Cube offered her $5 million to be in the Big Three.
Yeah, you know, I want your opinion real quick. Should she entertain that deal? $5 million to play in the Big Three, which is kind of a sideshow carnival thing, but it would be mixed gender, which is kind of a big deal for her, right?
I think she should entertain the idea. I mean,
It's $5 million.
she's not going to lose any. She's not going to lose any clout and go to the WNBA, whether she does well or whether she does bad. It's $5 million, which is way more than 76,000. I think she should do it for one season, and I think that would elevate the women's game even further. It would give more attention if she does well. If she doesn't do well, then it's, you know, like, whatever. It's one season, like it's a slightly different game than she's used to. Who cares? But if she does well, then it kind of brings
Her
more
stock
confidence.
goes up even more.
Exactly.
It goes up even more. But
so I
you know
think
what?
she should do it.
I agree she should do it. It's $5 million. I think it's a free play. What's the worst that can happen? You know, if
Worst
she
thing
is
happens,
even
she doesn't play well, and they say, well, it's a different game. She didn't adjust to it.
exactly, it's not 5-on-5 organized game, right?
Yeah.
Even the men's college game is played differently than the women's game. So you always have that difference. It's kind of like MMA when you do boxing, when these MMA champions go and box, they don't do well. It's a different sport at times. So I think she should do it for sure. Okay, here's my next big question. How does this impact women's basketball moving forward? Are we going to see these type of numbers again in college? And is this going to influence the NBA, the WNBA, which has really, really abysmal viewership? They're under 1 million, sometimes under 500,000 viewers per game.
Yeah, and they're subsidized about $10 million by the NBA each year, and their viewership and attendance has been going down. I think it will help them with these players. The thing is, you know, every league needs a draw, and these players are a draw. They'll get viewers. They've been, by their antics and their skill, they've been drawing attention to the game. So I think it will help the WNBA. For college basketball going forward, I mean, they need these stars. If there aren't these stars, then people aren't going to watch. People need the Tiger Woods to watch golf. You know, people need stars to follow these sports. So,
the drama, right? It's the draw, like you said.
So
we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah.
What's that? Give me the quick preview on the next matchup, because is it UConn playing Iowa now?
Yeah, that's gonna be that's a tough game to pick. The spread is real close.
You got to go with the Disney story, though, right? You got to go with the script. What's the script say?
I can't pick that game. I think that game's too close.
Yeah, but what does the script say? It says Iowa, probably, right?
Oh yeah, the script says Iowa.
It probably says Iowa. Probably says Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Why not? It's going to be an interesting game. Are you going to watch that game? Are you part of the possible 12 million that will watch that next game?
I might, if it's a convenient time where I can watch it. I might watch it. Yeah.
If it's working with multicast and I can split the screen 4 ways, it might make my top 4, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. All right, we're gonna go into some rapid fire headlines. Let's talk really quickly about some of the big NFL trade news that came out today, Zach.
Oh yeah. So big news today. Not an April Fool's joke. Stephon Diggs was traded to the Texans.
Wow.
for a 2025 second round pick that strangely enough originally belonged to the Vikings.
Jeez.
Also and Houston's also getting back a 2024 6th rounder and 2025 5th rounder. The Bills have to eat, I believe, $31 million in dead cap charge for 2024, which is huge.
So that's a bad breakup.
This
is a bad breakup.
We kind of saw this coming. Stephon Diggs has been arguing on the sidelines with Josh Allen. He's been throwing up his hands in disappointment. He's not happy at how the team has been failing to take it to the next level. And to be honest, his usage at the end of this past season just dropped off. I mean, he started the season hot, and then he was just underutilized.
One touchdown in the last 10.
Yeah. I mean, they were targeting, I feel like Gabe Davis was more of a priority than.
Yeah, I mean, they even came out and they said that he had a diminished role. So it felt like the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
You can't have a number one not get along with the starting quarterback unless you're Terrell Owens, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
They're taking Josh Allen over him every day. But, I mean, he still ended up with 107 receptions and 1,183 yards and 8 touchdowns. So not a bad season. And he actually, over the last 4 seasons, he has the most receptions in the NFL, 445, ahead of Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill.
Listen, both of us love Stephon Diggs.
Oh,
Maryland alum. He's a perennial number one. You know, I know he has a diminished role over there, but he's a legend. Definitely going to probably be a Hall of Famer. So I wish him well. Great landing spot for him too. CJ Stroud, whose top targets were Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Nice
great landing
soft
spot.
division too, you know.
Yeah, great landing spot. And awful news for the Bills, whose top wide receivers are now going to be Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel after Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs leave. So
So we got one other crazy headline. So squatters have been in the news a lot lately, Zach. Zach, do you know what a squatter is?
Yes.
What's a squatter, Zach? If you could define that for us.
Well, loosely based, someone living in the house that isn't paying rent or paying a mortgage. There's a lot of loose rules, especially in California after the pandemic, that allows squatters to kind of have more flexibility to stay in a house and not pay rent and make it be very hard for a homeowner to kick them out.
And this is something that has been happening a lot in all over America, right? Like I'm talking about middle America, in the city. Like really, it's been touched by everyone. But in true "they're just like us" fashion, it has now hit Beverly Hills. And do you know who lives in Beverly Hills? LeBron James. So LeBron James is now fed up with the squatter laws in California. So back in 2020, Zach, LeBron bought his dream house. It was a lavish $36.8 million mansion. It used to be Katharine Hepburn's. He immediately demolishes it. Immediately. So dream house, but he crushes it, right? Then he spends about 2 years going through legal red tape to get the house that he wants to start getting built. And in between that time, squatters moved into a property nearby, another mansion that's valued about $4.3 million. And apparently they've been throwing, quote, cocaine-fueled orgies nonstop at 2 a.m. every day. And LeBron is fed up. There's been arrests, assaults, fires, and he's now had to pay for 24/7 security just to help protect his own property. But it's great to hear that they're just like us. What are your thoughts about that? LeBron James and his $40 million mansion.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He's upset about the parties. He's upset about the chaos. It's it touches everyone. Pandemic's tough for everyone, right? Even LeBron James. Yeah,
Is that the only? There's, I think the other James is in the news today too.
No, yeah. LeBron was questioned after game. He was a little upset that the news had gotten out, but apparently, allegedly, Bronny is looking at entering the transfer portal next year. So Bronny might be leaving USC and transferring somewhere else.
What is that? Where's LeBron at with his contract?
I'm not sure.
Why don't you crunch some numbers real quick? I'll start telling you where I'm thinking this is going here. Why would he be so upset? Now, we know it's a dream for them to play together, right? And we know that Bronny James will not get drafted if he were to enter this season. Listen, he had a really severe injury, right? Cardiac arrest. It's not something that you can just bounce back from that easily. But, expectation was that he's going to spend 1 year in college at USC and then go into the draft, right? Didn't go that well. So he obviously has to have a better year under his belt. USC is not a team that you want to be on if you want good attention right now. So do you think it's possible? Do you have the information? Where's LeBron James in his contract?
So he signed a 2-year contract, this year being the first, next year being the second. And guess who has the option?
Oh, yeah. You bet
Player
LeBron
option.
does.
Player option for next year. So he can just leave the Lakers if he wants to.
Does that mean that we're going to read into where Bronny James maybe signs with in the portal? Because it could indicate where Dad's going to go in the NBA.
Yeah, because Bronny James is not getting drafted next year. So
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but can we quickly speculate? Where do you think would be a possible spot that LeBron would go to? Because he obviously would want to win a championship right away. And then we can deduct backwards to possibly what conference that would be that Bronny might be in and maybe guess the conference.
Has to be the Eastern Conference.
So Orlando has been talked about a ton, right?
Yeah, I mean, besides the Celtics,
he can't do that, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying the Eastern Conference is the weaker conference right now. So besides the Celtics and the Bucks, but the Bucks are kind of stumbling now. So
you think the Knicks are in play?
Oh yeah.
You think the Knicks
are definitely in play?
I think the Knicks that could be where would he play in college then?
That's tough because New York does not have good college basketball teams.
Unless he wants to revive.
You can transfer to UConn.
Oh, it's not a far drive. He's probably got a helicopter, right?
Yeah.
He got a helicopter. All right, we're gonna move on though. Good luck with that squatter situation. But so we have MLB baseball. We're about a week into the season. I'd love to get from you kind of your top series to watch out for and maybe place some wagers on for this upcoming weekend.
So, my 2 top series, or 3 top series, Yankees have been coming out of the gate hot, 6-1, against Toronto, a pretty good team. That's going to be an interesting one to follow just because the Yankees have been playing so well. They eked one out today in 11 innings. Got crushed yesterday for their 1 loss, but that's going to be an interesting series for me. Also, Dodgers and Cubs, because Yamamoto starts on Saturday for his second start after getting crushed in his first start. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. I would not put money on him to do well in the second start.
Is that the over game?
Yeah. Big over game. And last but not least, Baltimore-Pittsburgh, just because Baltimore is such a fun team to watch right now at 4-2 and Pittsburgh 5-0. It's a big surprise there.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh did start off against the Nats, which is always helpful, right?
Yeah.
Good picks. Listen, for me, I'm going to tell a quick story. Orioles and Red Sox have hooked me the last 4 days. Orioles have made me sweat a little bit. Tonight they had a 2-run walk-off to end the game, which was very intense. So they ended up pulling that away. Corbin Burns was supposed to start at 1 o'clock. It's been raining all day on the East Coast. Push the game back to 6. Zach, what happens when you push a pitcher back 5 hours? They come out stale, and he got knocked around a little bit. Didn't last very long. But Orioles look awesome. So going into this weekend for me, I'm going to pick the Orioles in Pittsburgh. Tyler Wells is going to be on the mound on Saturday. So looking forward to that one. So I'm going to take the Orioles. Then Marlins at Cardinals. The Marlins are the worst team in baseball. They're winless. They are 0-6 as of today. So you got to go against the Marlins. Cardinals, I think, are coming off a series against the Dodgers, right? Am I right with that one? Against the Dodgers. So, they're ripe and ready to make some runs happen. And then lastly, you got to go against the Athletics as often as possible. They are horrendous. They are terrible. They are playing the Lions. The Lions. They are playing the Tigers. So, be cautious, but they're horrendous. So I'm sticking with the winners, Orioles, and the losers, the Marlins and the Athletics. Going into our next and final segment, the Final Four.
Speaking of the Athletics, did you hear about some fan found instructions for the Athletics staff for the Athletics game.
No.
And there was some things listed to follow, like only put out the new white uniforms. Those are the new ones going forward. But one of the things was, it said to please refrain from pushing merchandise that highlights the name Oakland.
And famously this season, the Oakland fans have been protesting all home games. I think their home opener had about 5,000 fans. The next couple games had about 3,000 fans. So the protest is working. They have zero home field advantage. This team is down in the dumps. They have no incentive to win right now either. So that is hilarious. But going into the Final Four, Zach, I'd love to hear your picks. We have some awesome matchups. Both games are happening on Saturday with the national championship on Monday. Let's start off Final Four, Zach. What are your picks?
I hate to do this, but I can't not take.
Come to the dark side.
I can't not take UConn, and I can't not take Purdue.
Oh, the dark side.
And points. And points.
Does that make it any better?
No. I just these are just kind of lopsided matchups. I know NC State's a team that just won't quit, and Purdue does mess up here and there. But I can't see either of these teams. They've been playing so strong recently. I have to take UConn. I have to take Purdue, and the points are looking good too.
Listen, those aren't bad picks. They're not bad picks, and sometimes that's what happens. The number ones win. I'm gonna do the exact same pick, Zach. So for me, NC State versus Purdue, I'm gonna go Purdue money line. I think NC State might keep it close, but I have a strategy here, so I'm gonna go Purdue money line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that could be closer than people realize.
I'm not confident enough to take the points, though. I'll tell you that, because it could also go the complete other way. But I just know that Purdue will win. Alabama and Connecticut at 6 o'clock. I'm going to take Connecticut with the points. And I'll tell you, Zach, if you tease it down to 9, which I know you don't like to do, so you take 9 points on Connecticut, and you take Purdue money line, you're looking at a nice fat minus 120 money line. Okay, that's a good parlay. Put a couple hundred on it. It is the finals, Final Four, and you're going to win. Those are my picks right there. I love them, and I'm so glad that you finally have started to use your brain and not your heart when picking these matchups. Gotta go with the favorites.
How about Monday night?
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we won't be on. So Monday night, no matter what happens, oh my God. At this point, I don't see how UConn doesn't win. I think from every level, including coaching, they are destined to win. It's going to be super, super, super close. I think you might get a really even money line here also, which is kind of nice. But I'm going to go Purdue. Zach, who do you got for the final?
Well, UConn. I got UConn over
I meant to
Purdue.
say UConn. My bad. I'm going UConn also.
Purdue.
My bad.
Yeah,
UConn.
It's probably going to be what, like 3, 4.
I bet you it's 1.5.
1.5, that close.
Yeah,
I
bet
think
you
it'll
one and
be.
a half.
I think it'll be 3.5.
It's probably gonna end at 3, 2.5, 3. I agree with you, but I think it's gonna be pretty even. I think UConn's probably gonna be the favorite, but they're gonna keep it close. But I'm going to UConn with you, so we are on the same page. All right, we're favorite
Thought I lost you
buddies.
there for a second.
Oh yeah, come on, you know me. All right, listen, awesome time talking to you tonight. So sorry Dave had other things more important to do. See you later, Dave. But before we leave, we want to remind everyone that listens and supports us, you can always hear, follow, watch us on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, whichever is your choice. We appreciate it. We're going to see you next week. Later.